A very good morning to all my dear friends. This is StudyIQ and I am Prashant Mawani and I welcome all of you in this lecture of the Hindu analysis. The date today is 6th September 2017 and the day is Wednesday. Dear friends, on the 8th of September, that is after 2 days, the 30% discount that is available on the pen drive and tablet courses is going to end. So if you have not yet ordered your pen drive course, then I would highly recommend all of you to do it as soon as possible. If you have any question or if you have any queries, then you can feel free to give us a call on this number, and you can also contact our online assistant people on our website if you have further doubts. Let's see what we have got in today's The Hindu newspaper. This editorial, or in fact this topic of India and China, is one of the most important topic that took place yesterday. BRICS summit was going on. We have talked about it yesterday as well, and finally this editorial is talking about back on track. The relationship between India and China are seen to going in the right track after BRICS summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had one-to-one meeting with his counterpart President Xi Jinping, and both nations have decided to go ahead and to follow the principles of Panchashil. Now, what exactly is Panchashil? Panchashil is an agreement that was signed between both the countries back in 1954, and the 5 things that are in the Panchashil are that mutual respect for each other's territorial integrity and sovereignty, mutual non-aggression, mutual non-interference, not interfering with domestic matters of each other, equality and mutual benefit, and most important is peaceful coexistence. We know what happened in Doklam. Nearly 72 days. For 72 days, both the countries, the army of both the countries were looking into the eyes of each other. But finally, things are sorted now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping have signaled that they are trying to put the bitterness of the past. This itself indicates the maturity, the sagacity of both the leaders, right? The meetings between the two leaders was particularly remarkable because, as I told you, 72 days Doklam was very furious, and particularly from Chinese side, they used to release some aggressive statements in their Twitter handle and in their foreign ministry interaction with the media. There were speculation when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was about to go to China. People and analysts were discussing whether Doklam would be taken on board, whether terrorism would be taken on board, or whether economic matters would be expanded. It was all not known till yesterday, but now things are clear. Imagine how things have unfolded. The meeting was supposed to take place for 30 minutes, but it went on for 1 hour. This indicates that relationship are back on track. This indicates the warmth between both the leader. Bigger countries, they do have problems, right? We are neighbors as well. We are competitors as well. So definitely and naturally there are going to be some problems. But as they have decided, as both the countries have decided in Astana consensus. Astana is a capital of Kazakhstan, and during the sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO meeting, at that point of time, both the nations agreed that disagreement should not change into dispute. This is again in line with Panchashil agreement. In Shanghai Cooperation Organization as well, there was a very short duration of meeting that took place between these two leaders. It was mere 20 minutes, but yesterday they talked for more than 1 hour. Now they are going to sort out, they are going to check what went wrong, what are the things that took place in border, and they have decided that active interaction between both the forces will take place to ensure that no this sort of situations are repeated. Both the nations have again in BRICS summit, both the nations along with other countries have clearly opposed the protectionism strategy, particularly highlighting towards or fingering towards Donald Trump. When Trump came to power, he came with a campaign of America first. He also said that he is going to create walls, and after that Brexit took place as well, and around same time Brexit also took place. So a sort of protectionism wave that was going on, which is not good for globalization, particularly for countries like China and particularly for India, a country which has many steps to climb. We have not developed yet completely. We are still in a transition phase, and if at this point of time, if developed countries are closing their borders for services, for goods and for technology, then this is not going to be helpful for the whole world. In fact, it is the globalization through which we are enjoying all the benefits, that all the technological benefits in terms of idea as well, in terms of living standard. Everything has been developed because of a free flow of idea, people, goods, services, and this is not something that happened after the invention of aeroplanes and ships. It is happening for the longest time since the evolution of human history. If you go back to older civilization as well, then you will find that different civilizations used to interact with each other, and through this interaction, all the civilizations got developed. Apart from that, the recent thing that took place in North Korea, we did talk about it as well in detail. So today there are many things that you will understand quite clearly. And regarding North Korea, BRICS nation has advocated for going ahead with dialogue, and it has clearly said that force should not be used. Force is not going to be a solution, and this is important for Asia, because as I told you yesterday, two different parts of Asia, one on the eastern side and one on the western side, problems are going on, and this is not going to be good for Asian century. 21st century is termed as Asian century, and peace is the thing that we want on both the sides. It is through peace we will develop the whole Asia, and generally speaking, it was Asian countries that were colonized by European powers, and this is one of the main reasons why most of the developing countries are in this part of the world. Apart from that, dear friends, it is clearly visible that before Prime Minister Modi was about to reach there in China, China has already said that terrorism will not be discussed, and it was quite restrictive, but it has changed its stand, because China wants to project itself as a leader. It was looking for a successful BRICS summit, and it was also knowing that if Doklam issue is not sorted out, then it would be very difficult for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit China. Again, by doing this thing, by shaking hand with each other, both the leaders, both the countries have given clear signal. A clear message has been passed to the people of both the sides. There are some people in PLAs who want to keep on continuing this sort of distractions, but remember, there are different social groups who wants good relation with India. So it is in line with it. Apart from that, we should also ensure that we should not get into talks, or we should not indulge in who has won or who has lost in Doklam standoff. It is not going to be helpful for any country, but what we should focus on is cooperation. Cooperation should definitely grow. We are competitors, so competition is good as well between both these countries, because eventually it is going to bring out the best out of them, and we should ensure that confrontation is down. So we should structure this relationship and make sure that we reap benefits. Both countries should reap benefits out of it. Apart from that, on terrorism as well, China has took a tough stand. Recently, in near future, we are going to see that United Nations Security Councils, about which we have talked yesterday in detail. I provided you some basic details regarding how this UNSC is working. So there is a sort of resolution going on, and it is going to end in near future, and this stand of China against Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed is going to be helpful in passing the resolution against or terming this person and his organization as a terrorist organization. Apart from that, dear friends, China has, if you observe or if you analyze the last BRICS meeting that took place in Goa, at that point of time, Russia and China were very skeptical. They kept their mouth shut. In fact, Xi Jinping had clubbed terrorism with other things like disaster management and man-made disasters and things like that. They were not crystal clear on it, and in fact Vladimir Putin's speech did not had any word on terrorism. That was in the last 8th BRICS summit that took place in Goa. But now we can see there is a considerable or remarkable progress in this thing. All the BRICS country nations have unanimously decided that terrorism is a biggest challenge that through which BRICS countries are also going through. With this, dear friends, this topic, I would like to conclude this topic over here. Moving on to next topic, it's about IPL. This is not that much important, but I have decided to give you some light, throw some light on it, because to ensure that you do not miss out anything. From your exam point of view, it is not going to be helpful at all. Basically, what it is trying to say is that the way IPL is growing, it is bringing no doubt wealth for BCCI. It has placed BCCI as one of the most powerful and wealthiest body in world cricket. The broadcaster are willing to pay high money for IPL, and this itself indicates how much profitable it is for the industries that are associated with IPL. Apart from that, one of the most important thing is that BCCI should ensure that cricket remains clean of corruption. It remains clean of any vested interest, because what we saw last time, like how IPL teams, there were sort of horse trading going on in it. A very important article on Rohingyas. We have talked about Rohingyas yesterday because we have gone into detail regarding India and Myanmar relation, isn't it? Now, this gentleman, Shiv Viswanathan, has written a very good article, and from this we can learn many things, starting with Rohingyas. Now, basically, at present there is a case going on. A PIL was filed by 2 Rohingya immigrants in the Supreme Court, and earlier as well in the Parliament session, Minister of State for Home Affairs Kiran Rijiju has said that Rohingyas are illegal migrant. That means the government of India has termed Rohingyas as illegal migrant. Now, there is a difference between refugees and illegal migrant. If you are a refugee, then you will be entitled to some care being provided by the refuge providing country or asylum providing country. But if you are an illegal migrant, then all you get is harassment and exploitation. Apart from that, the situations of refugees are not that good. It is very bleak. What we are seeing in Europe, many of people from Africa and West Asia are seeking refuge in Europe, but there is a wave of hatred that is going on in Europe as well, particularly regarding refugees. And this is something, this stand of government of India of terming them illegal migrant is not going to be helpful at all, particularly at this point of time, because we know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Myanmar, and this is a hot topic. This is a burning issue in Myanmar. The other thing is that what happens is the radical groups, right, terrorist groups are looking for this sort of scrimmages and this sort of situation. This becomes, this provides them an opportunity to breed terrorism, to breed radicalization in the youth of Rohingya community, and we do not want to see such sort of situation in our neighborhood, do we? Not at all. And one of the main reasons why we are in this situation is because of our bureaucracy is not as sensitive as it should have been. Going through the history or trying to understand Myanmar, Rohingyas a little bit, we find that they are the world's most persecuted minority. World's most persecuted minority. They basically, the Rohingyas are Muslims. They belong to Sunni sect, and they are predominantly living in Rakhine state of Myanmar. Apart from that, the Myanmar army is harassing them for the longest time, and they do not find themselves in better position. They are basically working as slave labor in Myanmar. Dear friends, it reminds us of the words that Gandhiji has said. Gandhiji has said that he has talked about the last man. That means the person who is the most vulnerable, the person or a community that is not being provided equal opportunity, access to education. And in this term, Rohingya fits the list. It is very sad that this is happening in a country that is a country that has recently adopted democracy, a country that has won election because of Aung San Suu Kyi. She herself has faced this sort of situation. For the longest time she was in jail because of military government, and in Burma the military junta from 1982 has been engaged in giving a tough blow or iron-fisted hand to this poor Rohingya community. Apart from that, Aung San Suu Kyi won she was honored with a Nobel Prize for her work regarding democracy and peace in a war-torn country. But herself, we find that she is silent on this issue, which is very disheartening, and it also raises question regarding democracy or the way democracy is penetrating in Myanmar. These are the situations that have taken earlier as well. If you look at the cases of Sri Lanka, it was the same, something similar took place in Sri Lanka, and that gave rise to LTTE. It happened, or it is going on in Pakistan as well. We know the situation of Baluchi people, and recently Pope Francis is the head of Catholic Church. He has also said that the campaign of terror that is going on against Rohingyas are not being listened by the leaders of Myanmar and the world. It is basically falling on deaf ears. Now, dear friends, what they have been doing so far, as I told you, since 1982 they have been persecuted. So they tried to take a refuge in neighboring countries like India and Bangladesh. In India, you find them in many different states, right? In Rajasthan, Jammu and Kashmir, in Tamil Nadu and Kerala as well. Some of them have settled here and they are living here for the longest time. But recently, Bangladesh has again taken a tough stand against them. Bangladesh now is terming them as drug peddlers. Even Rohingyas tried to get access to Muslim or Islamic countries like Malaysia, Thailand and Indonesia, but they were let down by these countries as well. So basically they have no place to go, they have no home at all, and it reminds us of the Holocaust that took place somewhere around 70-80 years ago on the Jewish community that was living in Europe. Dear friends, thank God to the National Human Rights Council, which has taken the things into their hands. It is fighting a case in Supreme Court, and it is trying to convince Supreme Court by reminding it the fundamental rights of human beings, right? Under Article 21, protection of life and personal liberty. I'm repeating again for your sake. Article 21, that is a fundamental right guaranteed by our Constitution. It talks about protection of life and personal liberty. It is applicable to both, even if you are a citizen or even if you are a foreigner. Article 21 protects, the Constitution protects every human being under Article 21. And by deporting them, what will happen, as we have termed them illegal migrants, and Kiran Rijiju has said that all the 40,000 illegal, so-called illegal Rohingyas will be deported. So we are sending them to a place where they will be killed, where mass genocide will take place, and this is violation of constitutional guarantee of Indian state to protect the life and liberty of every human being, whether citizen or not. In fact, in international treaty on principle of non-refoulement, again we have committed that we will protect, and this principle again, it protects the deportation of refugees to a country where they can face threat of life. So on two stands, it seems that Rohingyas will find something, and hopefully Supreme Court's decision will have a long-lasting impact, not only for the Rohingya community but for the whole South Asian region. The other thing is that if we go back to the history of our country, we find that it is our nation who has braced the people who were facing a sort of threat from high-handed regimes. Like Dalai Lama was given refuge by Jawaharlal Nehru at a time when the situation between India and China were not going good. It took place in Indira Gandhi time as well. She played host refugees from then East Pakistan, ignoring the threats, which is now Bangladesh, ignoring the threats of tough people such as Henry and Richard Nixon. Dear friends, it is not only about Rohingyas, right? It is about the ethics, it is about the principles of the Indian state itself. Remember, we are the country who have happily accepted Parsis when they were in trouble. We have accepted Jews, we have accepted other communities as well, and all of us are living happily, and this is the basic idea of India, isn't it? We have Tibetans, we have Afghani people. This is the basic, this is the morality, these are the ethics of our country, and if we are ignoring this, then we are somehow directly or indirectly trying to destroy the soul of our country. So this is the context through which you should see this issue of Rohingya. I've tried my level best to ensure that I give you a big picture, a holistic picture, which can help you in your essay writing, your mains examination, and just in case if you find any question in your prelims as well, then you can. Many times you are asked questions based on match the following, whether Madhesis belong to Nepal. In the same context, you would be given Rohingyas belonging to Bangladesh or Myanmar. At that point of time, you should be crystal clear that they are from Myanmar. Moving on to another item, dear friends, then you find an article on Beijing. Again, this is not that much relevant for your examination, but yesterday we celebrated Teachers' Day, and in the past as well, we have heard our ex-president Pranab Mukherjee talking about dissent and disagreement, but it should not lead to disruptions. All the issues that were going on, particularly in the universities, and there was a time when there were some groups that were conducting violence, and they were trying to ban things. They were trying to ban freedom of speech in our country. At that point of time, President has many times, ex-president has outrightly spoken on this issue. Now, this article is basically Cambridge University Press. It publishes a magazine called China Quarterly, and the government has put a ban on it. It has put a censorship with a retrospective effect. That means from 1960s till now, all the articles that are published by China Quarterly, particularly on Tibet, Cultural Revolution, Tiananmen Square, Taiwan independence, Falun Gong. Now remember, Falun Gong is a festival that is not celebrated. It is banned in China, but it is celebrated in India. So all the articles in this area written on these topics are censored for time being, and this is not the first case. Other cases, other magazines are also coming out and saying that we have also faced ban on our articles. This is quite unusual in China, because in China you don't have that big population who is reading English articles, and this magazines are engaged in publishing material in English. But then as well, why China is behaving like this way? Because China's policy, the communist government of China is also trying to spread propaganda. It does not want the Western ideas to spread in China. It has in one of its recent interaction or an explanation regarding this thing, it has said that universities and freedom of press and all these things are associated. They are Western ideas. It is not something China can promote or Chinese government can promote. Recently, it has also put a ban on virtual private networks, and this was China has managed to convince Apple or persuade Apple to stop providing VPN applications through which many people were able to access the banned substances or banned contents, online contents. When I say substance, I mean online content. And dear friends, what could be the solution? Who can fight against it? This is basically the connection between University and Teachers' Day. Every time whenever there has been any sort of repression activities by any regime, may it be China or any other government, it is the universities, it is the people who are associated with teaching, because that's why yesterday Venkaiah Naidu ji has said so many things regarding teachers. If you go to the speeches of Mahatma Gandhi, Madan Mohan Malavya, Sardar Patel, and the name I can go on and on. All these eminent personalities of our history and the current personalities have also said that it is the teachers, it is the universities, they should be allowed to think freely. Only then we would be able to innovate, not only in terms of goods and services, but innovate in terms of way of living and way of expression as well. So it is very good that the Cambridge University has decided to raise its head against this oppression, and we are seeing this sort of things in many nationalistic regimes as well. Now let's see what we have got in other national news that are printed in the Hindu today. Mr. Modi has provided 10 noble commitments during his speech, his interaction with BRICS nations and BRICS plus nation. He has said that it is us, it is the BRICS nation through which BRICS nation can lay down brick by brick, right, laying down one by one brick, or through brick we can develop the whole world. Now when he's talking about the importance of BRICS, remember that 42% of world population is represented by BRICS. Nearly 50%, isn't it? Nearly half of the population is represented by BRICS. So all the development activities that will be done by BRICS will definitely impact the whole world. Apart from that, he has said that particularly in these three areas, he has said that organized and coordinated action on at least counter-terrorism, cyber-security and disaster management should be promoted between BRICS nations. He has also talked about green world, enabling world, inclusive world, digital, skilled, healthier, equitable, connected and harmonious world. These are the 10 noble commitments provided by Narendra Modi, in fact provided by India. He has also talked about no string attached model of cooperation. What does it mean? Dear friends, when we are providing loan to Bangladesh, right, when we provide assistance to any of the country that are in need, let's take example of Bangladesh, we have recently given $5 billion. At that point of time, China was providing somewhere around $20 billion to Bangladesh. The main difference between these two assistance is that with China, first the plan is made, the project is finalized, what are the things they are going to do. These are all the details and specifications that Bangladesh has to provide to China. But when it comes to India, the money is given first, and then it is the Bangladesh is given a free hand to decide to decide for themselves where they want to spend this money. So this is no string attachment. We do not try to colonize any country, and this is the beauty of our country. This has worked as a soft power for our country. It is increasing the credibility of our nation on a world platform as well. Apart from that, Prime Minister also talked about the development partnership, and here I would like to provide you some example, like say for example providing water. Remember a couple of years ago when the water purification system of Maldives was broken down. At that point of time, Indian ships were engaged in providing drinking water to the people of Maldives. This has won the heart of this has led us to win the heart of peoples of Maldives. We are supplying electricity to Bangladesh. We are building roads in Bangladesh. We are building roads in Myanmar. Yesterday we talked about trilateral highway. We are building roads in Sri Lanka. In Afghanistan, we are providing healthcare facility to Afghanistan. Recently, in the last visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Sri Lanka, he has also opened a multi-speciality, latest top-of-the-range hospital in Sri Lanka. We are providing transponders through SARC. We are providing transponders through South Asian satellites. Earlier it was known as SARC satellite, but the name is changed and it is known as South Asian satellite. With this, we are providing telemedicine facilities, electronic facility, communication facility, and we are also building basic infrastructure in many countries, and this is in line with neighborhood first policy of our country. We are working shoulder to shoulder with our neighbors, and we are also working with many African and Asian and East European countries and Central European countries in developing them. Prime Minister has also talked about sustainable development goals. These goals are decided by United Nations. There are 17 sustainable goals, and if you check all the policies of our government, then you will find that they will have their roots in this 17 sustainable development goal. The deadline for this sustainable development goal is 2030. Remember, this is very important. Moving on, Indian Prime Minister had a bilateral meeting with President of Egypt, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. Both the nations have decided to strengthen their bilateral ties, and with this there is also a mention of BRICS plus. We know BRICS, it consists of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, but when you talk about BRIC plus, then you have to include countries like Egypt, Mexico, Guyana, Thailand and Tajikistan. Remember these names. There are questions, prelims questions can be formed. You have to identify which is the which is a country that is part of BRIC plus. Many a times you have to find the wrong option as well, negative option, that which country out of the given list, which are the countries that are not part of BRICS plus. So at that point of time you should be crystal clear. Moving on to other areas, in India and Egypt, both nations have decided to increase partnership in security and counter-terrorism. And remember that India is 6th largest trading partner of Egypt. Egypt is also considered as gateway to Africa, and Egypt is a very fertile country. It has Nile in it, and Suez Canal is also located nearby Egypt, and from Egypt we can also reach to Mediterranean Sea, and from there we can cater Europe as well. Moving on to other items, as you know very well that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on his first bilateral visit. Earlier he has visited Myanmar, but that was regarding ASEAN summit. This time it is a pure bilateral visit, and in this visit both the nations are going to talk about security and counter-terrorism. Remember Rohingyas, radicalization, and apart from that there are some insurgent groups, Indian insurgent groups in Myanmar, which are providing or throwing challenges for the northeastern area of our country. A couple of years ago India has also conducted a surgical strike in this part of Myanmar. Then trade and investment, infrastructure development. We have talked about how India is building roads, how India is Archaeological Survey of India is facelifting its famous temples in Bagan. How after 2016 earthquake, how India is engaged in refurbishing the destroyed pagodas and other infrastructure projects. In Bay of Bengal area, Myanmar has oil and gas as natural resources, so this is the area in which India would like to be partnered with it. And apart from that, we have strong cultural and people-to-people tie with Myanmar. Remember the word Bagan. This is a city where you have Anand Temple. I have provided you a picture yesterday. Apart from that, as very sad news coming from a death of Gauri Lankesh. She was a journalist and she was an activist as well. She has spoken about all the wrong things that were going on in our society, and this is not the first time that we are seeing that a journalist or a rationalist is being killed by some radical elements. This is not only a murder of a journalist, it is not only a murder of an activist, it is not only a murder of a lady, but it is also a murder of freedom of speech. Till now we have not been able to find the culprits who have killed rationalists. Earlier on, 3 famous dignitaries were killed in India, and still we have not able to crack the organization who are behind it. Rajnath Singh is going to visit Jammu and Kashmir. This is in line with recent speech or recent views of Prime Minister on Jammu and Kashmir. He has said that if we want to solve the problem of Kashmir, then it is through embracing them, it is through holding them in our arms, and by spreading love only we can sort it out. It is not through, the solution cannot be reached through bullets and abuses. Apart from that, Home Minister has said that by 2022 India will be able to sort out the problem of Kashmir. India will sort out the problem of terrorism and Naxalism. If we go through the recent figures, then we have seen, it is observed that there is a huge drop in the sort of this disturbing incidents that are taking place in Kashmir or parts of Chhattisgarh or other Naxal affected area as well. And last year in 2016, violence erupted, particularly after the death of Burhan Wari, who was a Hizbul Mujahideen commander and a terrorist. Moving on to other area, dear friends, there are some changes made by Home Ministry. It has delegated more power to a bit of junior level, and now the joint secretaries will be able to decide on the projects worth 50 crore rupees. This is done to ensure flexibility, to reduce delays, and to facilitate quick decision. These are good examples. You can use them in your prelims mains answer writing as well. This sort of examples, as I have told you earlier, will add more weight to your answer. It will make it more logical. Now, Finance Ministry has asked and advised all the banks to block the accounts of all the 2.9 lakh companies that are struck off by register of company. Operation Black Money is going on in full-fledged, and every day we are finding something and something regarding Operation Black Money. Then news from RCEP. RCEP stands for Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. It is basically a mega free trade agreement group. It includes ASEAN countries and another 6 free trade agreement partners, which also includes India, China, Japan, South Korea, Australia and New Zealand. Very important group here. Now in this group, India is going to raise the concern regarding the slow pace of negotiation when it comes to services, but when it comes to goods, the things are going on well. So India, which is a leading player in service sector, is trying to ensure that all the things regarding services like medical services, IT services, the other services, tourism services, education, these are the services that India is exporting, and India wants free movement of services and its people, its skilled people as well. ASEAN countries ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asian Nations. These are the 10 countries, these are the 10 members of ASEAN. Locate them very well. Try to go through this picture. Remember this picture, because this is the area. Here is your South China Sea, and many a times you find that problems are going on between Philippines and Vietnam, and the way China is trying to colonize all these countries by providing assistance. Many a times it is also going through dispute. Many countries are having dispute with China regarding water supply, because many of the rivers are originating from this part of China. Right, dear friends, this is ASEAN, and moving on to another important item. It is again related with Agriculture Ministry. Suresh Prabhu has taken over as Agriculture Minister, and in the 10th Agriculture Leadership Summit he is going to talk about, or he is going to place India's stand on, he's going to present India on a global platform, and he will talk about, or he will take side of the situation of farmers in our country, and he is also going to pass an idea of global access for the market for when it comes to farmer and agri sector. Apart from that, there is a this project has not started yet. It is about Iran and India gas supply project, a pipeline that is going to be a marine pipeline. That means it is going to travel from underneath the sea. Earlier it was talked about that Iran, Pakistan and India, these were the three countries, IPI it was known as, and since 2007 no progress has been done on this thing, because of course we have Pakistan in between. If we locate Pakistan, then we find that it is between these two countries, Iran and India. Apart from that, we have good relation with Iran. Iran has been a good source of petroleum products and energies for energy security of India as well. It is playing a prominent role. And let me give you a small picture of the region over here. See, this pipeline will start somewhere from here. It will go to Oman, and from here it will reach Porbandar, that is in Gujarat. It will bypass this international water of Pakistan. India does not want any sort of problem or any sort of issues with Pakistan when it comes to energy security. This area, this small curve that you can see here, it is known as Strait of Hormuz. This is your country, this is Iran, and this Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important strait, because most of the oil that is produced by UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq travels from these waters, then passing through Strait of Hormuz it enters into Arabian Sea. And this is one of the main reasons why China is developing Gwadar port here, and China is developing the China-Pakistan economic corridor, because from here it can directly supply, from here it can have access to easy access to the energy supply, particularly oil and gas, or else it has to travel all the way through Strait of Malacca, entering South China Sea, and then it enters. So it's easier for China to do that. Now, some interesting news, something out of the box but important in terms of environment or biodiversity, and you can also associate this news with your science and technology. Now, solar storms, the scientists are believing that this may have caused bleaching of whales. Last year we saw that 29 sperm whales were washed. Basically, they were dead, and they were found on different coast of Germany, Dutch, that is Netherlands, France, and coast of Britain. Now, scientists are saying that this could have happened because of solar storms. Solar storms are the reason behind the northern lights, the neon sort of lights that we can see from the higher latitudes, and that is, I'm talking about Scandinavian countries and higher latitudes of Russia. From there you can see neon lights, a sort of green and sort of bluish light that you can see in the night time. This happens because of solar storm, and solar storm again is the one of the main reason behind the magnetic shifting of magnetic field. It shifts the magnetic field. This is our Earth here, this is our North Pole, this is South Pole, but we know that the magnetic field is not located exactly over 90° here, it is somewhere here, and in the southern part it is somewhere here. And because of this solar storms, it disturbs this magnetic field, and the whales which are using sonar system, they have their own inbuilt sonar system. Sonar system is basically a radar system to locate different things within the waters, right? Submerged or marine animals. Many of the marine animals are using this sort of biological technology that they have developed for over the period of time. So disturbances caused by solar storm has disturbed the system of location within these whales, and because of that they have reached the shallow waters of North Sea, and this could be one of the main reasons for their death. This is your North Sea, and this is the reason why you find the name of France, Netherlands, Denmark, parts of Germany and Britain over here. You can have from here, from via English Channel, you can access North Sea, and from North Sea you can access Norwegian Sea, and this part is your Atlantic Ocean. Right friends, with this I would like to end this discussion here. Let me remind you again that 8th September is the last date for 30% discount on our pen drive and tablet courses. If you have not ordered it yet, then I would highly recommend all of you to do it as soon as possible. Remember, you'd be able to download this lecture slide from our website and from our Telegram channel. Do not forget to subscribe our channel, share this video with your friends and family. Give me your like if you have genuinely liked this video, and pass me your valuable comment. With this, I, Prashant Mauni, would end this discussion here. I will see you all soon. Till then, enjoy your studies. Jai Hind. Goodbye.